Good.
Okay, thanks.
Fantastic. Let's roll because we don't know what problems technology is going to have.
Against it.
It's going to have for us. So, Mohammed B, Attah.
Yes,
you are
very well.
a social worker. You are a civil society activist and procurement professional. You are also the national coordinator of the civil society organization known as the Coalition for the Revival of Ajaokuta Steel Company. Welcome to the podcast, Kent Academic Exchange. And I'm so glad to have you finally. It's been tough. We tried yesterday. You were in Okene, where the internet coverage was not very, it wasn't good. Are you still in Okene now?
Beautiful. I'm still in Okene, and I'm proud to say that it's just a location. I'm now at the center, Transatlantic Center, where virtually all the networks are active.
Oh, fantastic. So there are parts of Okene where the internet is good, and there are parts where it's not exactly dependable.
Very well.
Is that something that you find across Nigeria? Is that a challenge we have in internet coverage in Nigeria, or is that just something to do with Kogi State?
No, I think it's a Nigerian issue, especially for some of us that travel across states.
Yeah,
you find out that at times there are certain areas that this network pole does not cover, especially if you're on highways and all that. Then when you're in the cities, of course, Okene is a hilly kind of settlement.
Yes.
The environment itself is hilly. So if you're in a low bed area, you may not be receiving the network as much as those at the higher altitude. So it's just fluctuating from time to time, depending on which city you are. Of course, you can't compare Okene and Abuja, Kaduna, and Lagos.
I'm quite familiar with Okene. In my undergraduate days, I had course to go to Okene several times to the beautiful College of Education campus that you have there.
Yes, that's FCU Okene. Beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful place. That was classic Nigerian education in those days, and the government was still spending a lot of money on higher education. That was before the IMF introduction of conditionalities that made us stop, spending money. Actually made us commit to spending less money on education. Can you believe we went through all that? And we're still not out of it yet. In fact, that's what accounts for the rot we have in the country, the education sector. I don't know which were the years you went to higher education. Was it in the 80s or 90s?
My elementary school was in the West. And I am one of those people who will say I enjoyed the Awolowo scholarship those days. Of course, education is quite free from primary to tertiary institution in the West then. I'm talking about late 70s and all that. Then at the secondary level, well, we were paying fees, but it's virtually almost free. But I think we also enjoy some high level of educational opportunities then, because the facilities were there, the learning environment was there, and name it. But now what you have is some schools living with people, living in the midst of buildings and all that. Incredible. The FCE that you cited as an example, that's Federal College of Education, Okene, was one of those schools that were built in the 60s. And you could see that there's a huge difference from what we had then and now. The environment is very serene. It's far away from the city. And it's a learning condition. It's really very interesting. So that is just an issue that we all have here.
I also enjoyed the free education of the Western states. I mean, the so-called Jakande schools was where I went. We got not just free education in terms of not paying school fees. We actually were given textbooks for free.
Yeah.
We're given pens and pencils and compasses, math sets for free every term. In case you lost the last term, so you get fresh supply. That's just, I mean, to imagine that we are living in this same world now, where as at the time I removed my son, and my daughter from Nigerian Education, I was already paying at that time, and they were in nursery school. Nursery school, I was already paying at that time for the combination of both of them about 500,000 naira per term.
Oh my God! Oh my God! What
compared to a period just a generation before when we were getting everything for free.
Free. Yeah.
How we got ourselves here, I mean, I mentioned one of it, IMF conditionalities. But despite all that, we seem to have done well. I hope one can say that. I mean, you are a procurement professional now. I mean, procurement is one of those areas of, disciplinary
with core interest in anti-corruption.
With core interest in anti-corruption, yeah. But it just intrigues me that it's become a profession in itself. I mean, my understanding of procurement is that it more or less reflects the act of buying and getting goods. And one can look around and say, well, isn't that what the market woman and the market man and the markets do every day? Or is it more sophisticated? Is it something that have to do with obtaining goods and services at the lowest possible cost of ownership, which is a different thing entirely from being just price? It has to have to do with the specification. So who is the procurement expert?
Well, of course, an average Nigerian and a layman, we naturally describe procurement from the earliest understanding of purchasing and supply as a simple buying and selling mentality. Of course, it's far beyond that, like you also observe and identify now, that the process of even obtaining goods and services is a lengthy one. It's a very complicated one. But what is more important is that, do you obtain that goods and services at the right cost and it's no satisfaction and at the right time? Those are the questions. And for you, I've told people who care to listen that a sound procurement economy corrects a lot of anomalies in the issue of fraud, corruption, and all that within the system. And that is why the Indian take procurement as one of the foremost guide in economic defense.
Arrangements, yeah.
And same with the World Bank, which is a standard that every country are using now. The UK, for example, and all that. But in the history of Nigeria, I think we're almost new there. We're virtually new because procurement itself, the professional association, did not come on until roughly about 20 years ago. And we've been going through a lot of challenges, especially when the law was passed in 2007.
Yes.
To get people who are there before, who are not professional, to get them to become professional, very difficult. Those who are in the system who think it should continue the old ways, were resisting the urge to make it professional, and all sorts of challenges.
So,
like you
if
said,
I understand you very well, if I understand you very well, it's not something
recognize the fact that indeed public procurement or procurement as a whole is a profession that people should owe and get certified before you start practicing it.
With procurement, it's all about specifications. I might want you to get me a cheap car. And I guess as a procurement expert, you'll be asking me, what are your specifications? Because it all depends on my specifications. I could want a cheap car and you go grab me one of the oldest cars from Cuba, one of these cars they have in Cuba that just go on forever. Or I could also say I want a car that has navigation specifications, that has all the modern conveniences. And of course, your price will reflect that. Which brings me to the question, Ajaokuta Steel Mill, which is going to form a lot of what I will be pushing you on, both as a civil society activist and a procurement expert. Are we getting the right, are we getting the acquisition of crucial national infrastructure at the right price considering all the circumstances. I mean, no one would quarrel with the fact that the availability of iron and steel infrastructure in a country is something that is good for it. No one would quarrel with the fact that we've started this journey a long time ago in Nigeria. I think dating back to 1979, when Nigeria started trying to acquire the technology of making steel. Ajaokuta was completed in 1983, I think, and the Russian company TPE had delivered nearly 98% of its own obligations in machinery and heavy equipment. Julius Baja was in charge of the complex network of rail lines from the port to Ajaokuta. Even the French were into the action. The French did all the civil work, including road construction, massive hundreds of kilometers of road network, housing estates, other foundational physical structures was, as I said, carried out by the French. We committed a total of $7 billion into this dream of having Ajaokuta Steel Mill. Today, we still have up to 10,000 units of purpose-built accommodation for mine workers and their families. And unfortunately, you will be getting the impression that I am trying actually to convey, that all this now seems to have gone to waste. We have 41 plants that were built and were ready, including steel, cements, and fertilizer, machine tool sections. Yet, today, we have nothing, really. Because apart from 6 months of initial production, 6 months in the beginning, 1983, we've not really had that steel factory do what was said it will do on the package when we bought this product. Can you give me the current situation with the Ajaokuta Steel Mill dream of Nigeria? What's going on today?
Hello?
Yes, I'm listening to you. What's going on today with Ajaokuta?
Yeah, thank you very much. Even from your analysis, one will simply agree that you are also an insider and you have a very good knowledge of the beginning and where we are today. What I will simply say is that indeed, for every Nigerian or anybody in the world today that described Ajaokuta issue as near failure will not be wrong. Why? Because if you have just about 2%, as people claimed, to complete an industry of that magnitude, one wonder what is missing. Is it administrative? Is it political will? Is it funds? Is it capacity? These are the questions we have been asking in recent time. But before I even go further, let me say that all hopes are not lost because efforts are also there. You will have noticed in recent time that as a result of push and advocacy from several sectors, the government is responding. One of such was the visit of the president to Souchi, which you are aware in 2019. And the APPIT that was set up, Ajaokuta project implementation, presidential project implementation team, and a host of other activities that came on. What I think is actually the issue with Ajaokuta for now is funding, and that is linked to political will on the part of our leaders. Of course, President Buhari made a lot of promises when he came in, and to fulfill that promise, one of the signs he did was to travel to Russia to meet with the Putin and the international community. Of course, Afremix Bank was also invited as part of the tripartite agreement to see how funding can be generated. But that is one aspect of it. The other aspect is that Ajaokuta has a history. What the leader, what are the previous government, what do they have put in place? Of course, there are a lot of legal issues which involve GINL at a point that Nigeria, that is by extension, Ajaokuta is owing certain consultant, certain pot of money. And until that money is paid, Ajaokuta cannot go forward. And of course, we all know the history, we know what happened. We went to the arbitration, the international arbitration. Judgment were given in favor of both parties. Of course, that's the essence of arbitration. But instead of us to continue on that edge, we are faced with a force majeure, which the minister has been hammering on, and that as a result of that, this present government may not be able to fulfill its promise 100%. So that still leaves us with the 22% people are talking about. But let me make an impression. I may be wrong, but I continue to say I'm not a technical person. If you say a complex has just about 2% to complete, what are those components, or what is it? For me, I think it's not the technical area. The gaps that have been created in the last 40 has further made the capacity trench to stretch, in the sense that we may not even have the manpower anymore. And that is why we have to continue to rely on the external technical audit, external involvement, like the Russians, who are the original builder. Recently also, we had that the power plant, which is just one of the units, was audited. What the outcome of that audit, we are still waiting for it also. And that is just one among 14 units that need to be audited. So there are a series of intricacies around the Ajaokuta phenomenon. But one thing we have always maintained as civil society people is that we see a lot of money voted for unproductive projects here and there every now and then, to an extent at a point, even at the National Assembly, they were querying a minister that presented 200 million naira to buy mosquitoes, which this was challenged by a senator from...
to buy mosquito nets, you mean?
Yes, to buy mosquito nets.
For what? For where? For the refugees in the camp or somewhere?
There's no need going to all that thing. But what we are simply saying that they are not thinking. And look, okay, look at what is even happening in Nigeria today. So far, PDP alone, I mean APC, PDP, and all the other parties has raised billions of naira.
All Progressive Congress and People's Democratic Party.
They've raised billions of naira just through what they call nomination or registration form and all that. Yet you have individuals out there, even in the private sector, that have a lot of money that could have ventured into.
I understand where you're going with that, that we really are not perhaps making the best choices as a society. Well, this is what intrigues me about Ajaokuta. There has not been a shortage of, at least recent, and I'm going to push you back later on and tell you a few reasons why I think we are in the rut we are in. The so-called Ajaokuta Presidential Project Implementation Team, which you refer to, the APPIT, are they still going on? I think this is a body that's in 15-member body with people from various calls of life, from the Nigerian Petroleum Company. You have board members from the civil society, you have board members who are commissioners in states, you have board members from the Ministry of Mines and Industry. They've been together, these eggheads, for a couple of years now. Are you satisfied with what they've been doing?
No,
and what's the latest on their part?
I'll say no right away, because of course you missed something out. The composition does not include any civil society participant. There's none.
I think, can I just say that there? I checked the composition, the initial composition. I won't be able to talk about the composition now, but the initial composition included a certain Dele Ajayi Smith, who is of the African Center for Development Foundation, ACDF.
No, he's not. He's not. Dele Ajayi He's in the coalition, and he was also part of the meeting we held in November 25th last year, in which we recommended that government should nominate a member of the civil society as party to it to serve as watchdog on what they are doing. What we currently have, and I have all the list, is the government and the private sector. That's purely what we have there. And of course, when we say private sector, who are actually the people? They may not even be experienced practitioners in that area. Well, what we have is purely the SGA, who is the chairman, the minister, who is the alternate chairman, the permanent secretary, the Ministry of Finance, the sole administrator of Ajaokuta Steel Company, as well as NIOMCO, and maybe director still. And then one or two private sector practitioners. That is all.
Isn't there supposed to be? I suppose there was supposed also to be a Ajia Medina Daudan Dabo, who is from the Voice of America, VOA. I found that a bit intriguing. Why would someone who is currently working for the Voice of America be on this APPIT, very important national assignment? What was that?
I think you may have gotten the wrong list. I will suggest that you go back again and look at the list thoroughly.
I'm getting this from the press. I think I'm getting it from the Nigerian press because it's so wrong now. I'm not even going to mention which.
Very wrong. And I'm going to make available to you.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to make available to you the list as it is officially, and you can go on the government website and see as the Ministry of Finance as well as the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development to see the list. Of course, a simple Google can also even give you the list of the parties. This civil society you mentioned and media are not part of the list. Of course, well, that's not even the issue. Are they doing the right thing? Have they, since we were inaugurated, have they given any public report? These are the questions we should ask, and I appreciate your agitation too. Yeah. What have they done so far? We are also asking, what has APPIT done? Our team has met with the SGF. Our team has met with the ministers, and we continue to ask this question. Our team has also met with the sole administrator. We continue to ask this question. All we get is the minister will brief us. And in each time, for the last 3 or 4 times that the minister has briefed us, they have been very contradictory. There's no straightforward information as to this is where we are, this is where we're going, this is what we all they could say was there was force majeure, which is COVID-19 that held the audit for 2 years. Then the Russian-Ukrainian war. Okay, agreed. But suddenly, the last announcement we had, it, government has approved the sum of 850 million naira to be given to a consultant, which has not been unveiled who are the consultant, to facilitate concession of the Ajaokuta. And let me tell you categorically, the arbitration never supported concession of the steel. Neither has any concession in the past worked. You remember what GINL, the Indian company, what they did when they were engaged in Nigeria? You remember PricewaterhouseCoopers that was engaged previously as consultant, and how the National Assembly indicted them and treated them.
I don't want us to lose track of the flow of how we got to where we are and where we are now. If I get you right now, Ajaokuta Steel Company is not working. And I think you just dropped the hint that the Nigerian government has said it will no longer be able to revitalize the Ajaokuta Steel Company in 2022, which was a key campaign promise, or at least a key promise of the government when it came into office in the first term, certainly again in the second term. And now they've thrown up at their hands and saying we are no longer going forward with this, citing the impact of COVID-19 and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Very, very convenient, isn't it? Russian-Ukraine war that's just started in the last 2 months has become determinative of the efforts of a government that's been had 5 years or 4 years now, or at least 4 years.
4 years.
So that's where we are. It's not going to happen.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Attah, have you ever seen a white elephant before?
I've not seen one, but at least I've read about it.
I'm going to share my screen with you.
Okay.
And you will see a white elephant, perhaps for the first time in your life. I really, maybe I should give a bit of a background on white elephants. White elephants actually do exist. and they are seen as something of a very divine nature, divine purpose, if I may say, in certain cultures. And those cultures include the culture of the Thai people, Thailand. In Thailand, if the king owns every white elephant because they are that rare. If you see a white elephant, they quickly take it to the king's palace and they give it to the king to keep because it's a rare thing, it's a thing of honor, it's something that the gods want the king to take care of. But the practice soon developed in ancient Thailand, where if the king wants to punish you as a subject who has not been doing something right, he would give you one of the white elephants in his possession to go and rear. White elephants cannot be put to work. They cannot be used for money. Yet, because it belongs to the gods and to the king, you have to take care of white elephants. So you can imagine the, the problems that someone who has a white elephant now has to go through. So can I ask you, can you see me? Can you see me now? Can you
yes, you are sharing. I think I can see you sharing the.
And you can see the screen as well.
Yes, yes.
That's the white elephant.
Can see the white elephant. That's funny indeed. Well,
that's a real life white elephant being taken in a parade across a small city somewhere in India right now, in a religious procession.
Yes,
isn't it?
Yeah, very,
now,
very.
I think you understand what I mean if I say we have a white elephant in our hands here with the Ajaokuta Steel Mill Complex. Do we even need to continue with this white elephant project? 1983, $7 billion, several governments, and I haven't even gotten to the juicy part yet, the corruption part. I'm still talking utilitarian here. At some point, as a procurement expert, shouldn't you, people like you, throw your hands up and say, maybe this dream was never meant to be, or maybe we don't deserve something as good as this?
Okay, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there because the point is quite made, but maybe for some of us that have been following this trend over a period of time, can convincingly tell you that what is really missing is the will of our leaders to invest in Ajaokuta. Otherwise, Ajaokuta can never be described, or should not even be described, as a white elephant project, as many have said in the past. But recent happenings and exposition has shown that indeed something positive is available. And I'll give you my own marks too, because we are seeing this thing from different angles. In the first instance is that every nation seek to be industrialized. And one of the first tools for that industrialization is steel. That is one. Two, every nation wants to drive away from whatever is pulling them economically to something new. The oil that is Nigeria's major export is gradually growing and it's drying. And we are aware of that. We need to also shift from one economic pools to another one. Then I think steel is the ultimate. Now, the third issue again is that if you look at the world powers, one of the things they've capitalized on over time has been the ability to have steel, to produce steel for the consumption of their country as well as other countries, many nations across the world. I don't need to Germany, Russia, America, India, Japan, name them. It is still. And when you come back again, you look at what that we're consuming today. Is it aeroplane? Is it railroad? Is it cars? Is it gas? Name them. Even the pipeline, AKK, that we have been producing. Now, if you look at the number of pipelines, if you are in Nigeria right now, you see the number of steel plants that are being laid from Ajaokuta itself to Kano, that is, you wonder where is Nigeria getting this money from that Ajaokuta is not working. And these are steel that Ajaokuta can produce overnight. Now, we have to import this one. And I read in the newspaper recently that the government has spent about 13.6 steel over a period of 2 years for this same AKK project.
How much again? I didn't get that. How much?
13.6 billion.
Naira.
Yes. For importation of steel. Shouldn't we have used that money to resuscitate Ajaokuta that can produce that same steel that we need in Nigeria? So I think it's a misplaced priority. It's not about.
But there's a question of. I mean, if we go back to the comparative advantage theory of Adam Smith, produce that which you are able to produce at the cheapest and contribute that as your trade. I mean, the surplus as what you trade with the international community, and then buy anything that is a bit more expensive for you to produce. That's the simple economic theory. But we don't seem to be in a position to produce steel at a cheap rate, given that the top 10 largest steel producing countries are China, followed by Japan, India, United States, Russia, South Korea, Germany, and Turkey. These are the top 10 states. The least of them, Turkey, produces 37 million tons.
Okay.
China produces, at the top of the table, produces 831 million tons per year. Where are we ever going to be in this system, especially when we can't even start off? Why don't we cut our losses? I still need you to give me the golden bullet argument here.
Yeah, I was going to that before your maybe your interjection, which is that, of course, every nation that graduated into steel production, which now sustain the economy, started from somewhere. And of course, it's just not an overnight achievement. And we do know also that the likes of India, who today is a reference point in terms of steel development, steel making, and all that, span close on to about 200 years before their steel economy became something of reference. Now, if you make that comparison with Africa, of all the countries you called, again, let me remind you that you didn't mention any African country.
No, I haven't. Sadly, I agree with you.
Very good. And that is the more reason why Nigeria is very important, is key. Let me even tell you the political angle to it, the international politics around it. It's the fact that Nigeria becoming industrialized through steel is somehow an independent state from the claws of the West. And for whatever reason that the West can do to frustrate that, of course, naturally or whatever, artificial, there must be a competition to try to undermine that. So what we have that is the challenge is our leaders. It's not that the project itself cannot be sustainable. You
do have a very important point you are making there, because I'm also aware that the international community, particularly the Western powers, were never happy with the incursion of Nigeria into this area. Indeed, before we approached the Soviet Union, from my research in this area, I understand that we also approached the West. We asked the UK, we asked the US for help. Yes. And they told us point blank that we don't have the technology, we wouldn't have the raw materials, that we can't do this. And they more or less dissuaded us from this. Fortunately, at that time, which is one of the good reasons why we should not have a unipolar world, we had another superpower we could approach, which was the Soviet Republic, the USSR. And we approached them, and they said, they did their feasibility study, and they said, we have enough. And they were able to locate within Nigeria more than enough raw materials that will make this feasible and possible. I think of all the things that is needed there's only one, which might be coke, you might know about it, that we don't have sufficient supplies of. You don't have to have everything to make any industry work.
But,
so the one thing that we needed, we could get from outside. And they told us this is the best price they can get us going, transfer the technology for us, and they made it possible. And they did their own part. Now the question is, why in the first place were the Western powers not happy with this, with the development? And again, I remember that they were able to extract from us at that time because we still are in a sense totally under the control of the Western, imperialism in Nigeria and in most parts of Africa. They were able to extract from us that we were not going to give everything to the Soviet Union in terms of making this happen. We had to give a lot. I mentioned what we had to give to Germany, what we had to give to France, and even in the technical aspects, they forced us to use some US technology in such a way that we now had a hybrid system, which was very unusual, which meant that some component parts were not working in together with each other. So we have this background of international politics also trailing Ajaokuta. Are you still willing to say that's the only problem we are having, or you are saying that's just one of it? And how much blame are you going to lay on that ground?
Well, if you recall just now, I gave you 4 points, 4 reasons why I think we are going through what we are going through now. And I enumerated them when I now ended with international politics and all that. These are not problems that are not surmountable. Why? Because we know very well in Africa, the challenge has always been leadership. Once we get the right leader in place, of course, President Buhari tried a lot. He wanted to, but for whatever reason or somehow, he couldn't get it right. And of course, you can't blame him alone because he has his lieutenants that are managing this process on his behalf and who are not doing it well. The previous administration, the same thing we had. We have ministers who signed Nigerian fraudulently into an agreement that we're now indebted to. Now, we also have people in the system that are even interested in investing in Ajaokuta, which we have not even approached. Of course, one of the recommendations we are giving, and we continue to emphasize on now, is that we must look inward. We should look inward, meaning that we have enough people, we have enough investors that can help to invest in Ajaokuta for its revival. Of course, joint venture is a key issue to this, but not concession. I repeat again, not concession. We will do all we can to reject that. And of course, one of such things we are going to do is also make sure that the legislators are fully aware of the implication of concessioning Ajaokuta to any front, any company, individual, or whatever. Because that is totally against the law, that's totally against the judgment, and that's totally against the will of the people, because it has failed us in the past. So I am telling you right now that Ajaokuta is doable. It's possible.
You keep saying it is doable. Yes. Hello? Yes, I hope you can hear me. It is doable. Everything is doable in theory. But you set up something for 7 billion. It worked for 6 months. Then since 1984 at least, we had nothing again. It became moribund. It became a ghost city. And nothing happened until Abacha. That's a span of 1983. When did Abacha come into power? Abacha came into power in the early to mid-90s, actually. That was when there was first movement in this area. And the movement that happened was actually a national disgrace. What happened in the 1990s was that I'm trying to build something here.
Okay.
That the Soviet, the Russian company, which inherited the rights from the USSR, came calling for their funds. They hadn't even been paid for some of their construction and project delivery terms, and they came asking for up to $2.5 billion dollars of money owed to them by Nigeria. Have you heard of Atiku Bagudu? Do you know who Atiku Bagudu is today?
Yes. Atiku
Bagudu hatched a plan, and the plan was to buy, and this is all open source material.
Okay.
A simple Google search will get this out. Atiku Bagudu opened up a plan whereby he will buy the debt owed to the Russians, and he used his connections to the Abacha family. He used his connections with Abacha's son to buy the debt from the Russians. They were so happy that at least there will be some movement, that they were quite happy to just take $500 million for in total expiation of their $2.5 billion that they were asking for. 500 million, 2.5 billion. So you are more mathematical than I am. Bagudu now had the right to the full sum. And of course, because he was acting in cahoots with the Abacha family, they were able to get that money out of Nigeria using two offshore companies. Mind-boggling corruption. They channeled this money into their pockets, and it took the full investigation and discovery that took place after Abacha's death, when the total extent of his crimes became blown open, for the British Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria and the team that were investigating to find out that Bagudu hid this money, this looted money, technically looted money, in the United Kingdom, a usual place to hide money for kleptocrats around the world, and in the British Virgin Islands.
I think this is getting wider. Let us we did the scope of the question.
It's quite important. It's quite important to talk about this.
I'm going to speak about that. But let me also not lose touch with what you said earlier on.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that, first and foremost, we all agree that Ajaokuta was 80%, I mean, about 89, I mean, 98% complete.
Done, yeah.
Beautiful. And who did that? It was under Shehu Shagari.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah,
so
correct.
What it means is that Shehu Shagari believed in Nigeria. He's patriotic. He was believing in the construction of Ajaokuta. He made it up to that point. After then, we have what? The military.
Yeah.
It's all about leadership. They abandoned the project until when Abacha too also came. What did happen? The issue of corruption you just mentioned. When Abacha left, what happened? Obasanjo came. And what happened again? We know what the same story you are talking. I can tell you about Obasanjo's son and all that.
Exactly. It's very important to talk about this. It's very because we have to be balanced in terms of how corrupt.
I'm coming to that. That's where I'm taking you to. I just want to trust the history. It's not just about your era. All of them are involved. And so that is why we continue to emphasize on the fact that the problem of Nigeria is leadership. If Shehu Shagari can do it as at that time, what stops others from doing the same? So for all those who did not, until Buhari came, nobody was ready to even make further attempt in reviving it. Even though he's failing us now, we can still commend him because he has done a lot. He has exposed the intricacies there. We already know what is the history. We know what is outstanding. Nigerians are fully aware of what is the problem now and how we can move on. And we have brought a lot of solutions out. So I think the point, when you talk about the Bagudu issue, I'm very much aware also at a point that for every leader that came into Nigeria from the time of Abacha, then Obasanjo, then Jonathan.
In Obasanjo's time, I mean, we have to provide some context here. In Obasanjo's era, the mine was sold to a certain Solgas Energy Limited.
That is still what we are talking about. It's still about the corruption we are talking about. The GINL came under Obasanjo era.
Solgas was owned by someone who is a certain Shehu Yefeso, who is an
Yes.
outside friend of Obasanjo's son.
So
And,
those are the issues. Those are the corruption issues you are talking about. So
yes.
we need a good leader, a committed leader, a patriotic leader who truly believes in advancing the cause of Ajaokuta. And that is what is missing.
But
that is the political
I
we are talking about.
We had one now. Just a minute. I assume we had one now. The current leader is perhaps the only one we are ever going to have in our lifetime who will be known for his one trick us.
Conclude on that. We are not, well, we know that Buhari has tried. I just acknowledge that.
Yes.
That Buhari is trying. He has tried, in fact, with all that he has done now, but for his lieutenants that are managing it wrongly. And I say it, and I stand to be corrected.
Why are you so sure he's tried? Can you tell me why you are sure he's tried?
First and foremost, when he came, he's the only president that left this country, went to Russia, negotiated with them on the need to revive Ajaokuta and promised that they should come back and complete it. One, he's the only president who agreed that rather than go to the International Criminal Court, we should go for arbitration. He agreed that let us settle out of court and pay whatever Nigeria is owing to the contractor.
But
he's the only president.
You talked about arbitration.
Yes.
In arbitration, a lot of experts believe that the arbitration would have come out in our favor if we hadn't pulled out of even arbitration, which is already a concession. You're going for arbitration and not to court, and you pull out of arbitration for inexplicable reasons, claiming that you are better off settling. A lot of people say there's a lot of lack of transparency in that. Why are you saying?
We didn't pull out of arbitration. For a point of correction, we didn't pull out of arbitration. Rather, the arbitration, the result of the arbitration was the judgment that there should be no concession, but we should settle what we are owing to the consultant. And out of which the consultant, the Nigerian government and the consultant are supposed to sit down and discuss the pros and cons. Of course, what many Nigerians don't know. Let me give you an information.
That's not what I understand.
Let me give you an information.
That's not what
Let me give you an information.
Yeah.
Let me give you an information. What many Nigerians don't know again is that whatever we think the consultant think Nigeria is owing them, they also owing Nigerians some aspect, which is deductible from the fee. And that is why you see the consultants are not pushing further again, because they also know that there are some level of, we are talking about procurement now.
Yeah.
There are give and take. I thought the consultant too, when they were here, they also incur some debts. So that is where we are on the negotiating table. And that is why I think the president should be commended for even taking that step. Because previous governments, they avoided it. They said, oh, we are owing about $903 billion, $3 million. That is the fee.
Okay, have we paid anything now? No, and if we have paid, how much have we paid? Are you aware of that?
Of course, we can't pay that amount because there's a negotiation that even the consultant too are also owing Nigeria to a certain amount.
So yeah, well, there's a set off. There's a set off.
At the ministry.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, there's a set off to be made.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
Yes, there's a set off to be made also by the consultant, and so the question now is, you are owing total amount of money, but you're also indebted to us for social amount of money. So when we give plus and minus, what is left? So now coming back to the main issue, I think the current president, Buhari, did all he could. And of course, I've always maintained it that a leader will only succeed if he has good people around him. People who manages the economy well, but who understands the international politics, manages the economy on patriotism, not for the purpose of settling certain things. For example, there's a rumor now everywhere you go, they say, oh, the government is releasing the sum of 850 million for audit of, so transactional consultancy to concession Ajaokuta, whereas we still have issue with GINL. So how do we resolve that? That's one. That is it not that now that the election is by the side, by the corner? These are the questions people are asking now. And these are the issues we are going to engage in a few days from now. We're going to engage government with fully. So I still believe we are still on the negotiation table. And I still think we can achieve something positively if we have a committed leader. And even it is not even too late at this point, even though the Minister of Mines and Steel and Architect Ajaokuta has told us that they may not be able to conclude on the issue of Ajaokuta before they leave office. But
my problem with our plans is that,
yes.
I mean, I have no proof here. It's a pet conspiracy theory of mine. I'll throw my hands up. I love conspiracy theories.
That's beautiful.
My conspiracy theory here is that the Ajaokuta Steel Mill has become the conduit pipe over the years for Nigerian political class to fund their elections and to pass money into the hands of their favorite friends.
You're perfectly right. And that's our position too. That's our position, and that's what we start going to engage from now on. Yeah. As I speak to our civil society, and I hope that you'll be following us, because this is the trust of the issue.
There are a few projects like that have been used over the years. It's Ajaokuta, it's Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is less than 150 kilometers. Yeah. And successive governments that last 2 terms of 4 years each are unable to finish 150 kilometers of road network. This is something the Chinese will build in perhaps a month.
It's 6 months. Let's even
say yes. They certainly will do that in their country in a month, but they will do it in 6 months anywhere. How come then from the Obasanjo era till today, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway of 150 kilometers has never been finished? I mean, the insulting part was when the last president, I mean, they are all equally guilty on this, but I'll just pick on that because I found it very insulting. President Jonathan actually flew by helicopter because, of course, he couldn't get there by road. Yeah, the roads were there. He couldn't go by road, yeah. To Shagamu, I think from Lagos to Shagamu, or straight from Abuja, by helicopter to declare. He couldn't even say he was declaring it open, to announce the intention to finish the road just a few months to when he was looking for his second term, which fortunately he did lose, because you shouldn't get away with such crimes. But then, that was like 8 years after the project had started under the Obasanjo regime. That same Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
Yeah,
not finally done.
I think we are saying virtually the same thing.
If we cannot finish a 150-kilometer road in 16 years, how are we ever going to build and complete and use a steel complex in a world where there's strong competition in that industry?
Well, I think that still comes back to what we are saying about our leaders. A committed leader knows what to do at the right time, like we are talking now. I recall very clearly when after Obasanjo left office, he was even accused of not even constructing the road from Lagos to his Ogun State, to Ajaokuta, which was an issue then. I also recall under his regime also, the money that was given for the construction of road from Abuja to Benin by the then minister, Anene, went into oblivion and all that, but nothing was done. Well, until perhaps when Jonathan came and similar things were being repeated, then we now have a government that said, no, what has happened in the past, let us dig them up and go into them. Then we begin to see a lot of people have been arrested for accountability, to give accounts of what they have done, stewardship and all that. So I believe that always happened. Yeah. I believe, hello?
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the things that gets me really worked up about Nigerian corruption is that even when you unearth the facts and figures and everything that investigators need and hand it to them, nothing happens. I mean, you remember very well. You must remember when I and my friend Larry Suraju. You know Larry Suraju? Yeah. We conducted this 2-year study on anti-corruption, on corruption between the Nigeria and the UAE, particularly Dubai. And we came back, we gave the government a dossier. We gave them 800 properties with names on it that were owned by Nigerian civil servants, legislators, governors, NNPC officials, staff of the presidency, people in the judiciary, 800 properties owned by Nigerians that have not been reported as should have been reported according to Nigerian laws by these people who own them. That's been, we gave this dossier to them and a full report on this last year around March.
Yeah, I was part of that that movement then. I know very well clearly.
You attend the conference because we had a full conference in Abuja.
Yeah, one was held even in Kano later on. Exactly. One again in Lagos and all that. Yeah, I was following that.
Exactly. Yes. We are doing our best in the civil society. We are doing these things at great personal risk. And you do this and you hand it over to a government.
And nothing happens. Nothing happened.
A government that even prides itself on anti-corruption. So what hope do we have with the next government that doesn't want to pride itself as anti-corruption, as I totally would expect?
Mr. Auditor, I think the hope we have is that we will not give up from talking and from also making sure that we make available some of these facts to government. I think the voice is louder now than before.
But talking is dangerous. Are you aware of what happened to Lanre Suraju recently?
Very well. I was part of that. I was going to attend the court sessions with them in Abuja.
That's scene one. Part one of what's happening to him. Lanre Suraju's life has been made very interesting. It's not only that it's not just that he's been picked up on by the government. It's also the fact that his house was stormed in the early hours of the morning by criminals.
Okay, what they call unknown
physical harm to him and his family. Yes, physical harm to his family. I'm so glad that he came out of this alive. But these are not the type of things you would expect that would happen. This government will allow to go unchallenged, uninvestigated. We all know that wasn't a normal attack. That was a warning shot from the powers that be. That he's investigating. There's an old OPL 245 scandal.
That is it.
Yeah, that seems to be the main arrowhead of his investigations, and that's the reason why he's facing trumped up charges of what they call it, cyber stalking. He's cyber stalking by investigating a corruption. In the history of Nigeria, we've never had that. We've not seen that being laid by the Nigerian police. So you are cyber stalking when you investigate crimes, when you turn up evidence through electronic. It's mind-boggling. So with this kind of situation,
the freedom of information is no longer even active. That's why we have a law that gives a right of speech to individuals to even investigate and submit same to authorities. And that is why I continue to say that, look, we should not give up because people before us also have gone through worse than. These are some of the challenges we face as activists, as anti-corruption fighter. And we have series of stories to share. I personally was in court with government for 4 years for also exposing corruption that has to do with the runway era. And I went to court.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, yes. It was a BPP, Bureau of Public Procurement, that was engaged in an NNPC contract issue. And I took it up. I read it on the newspaper. My first reaction was to write them and said, this is not right. You should withdraw it or apologize to Nigeria. Otherwise, I'll take it up. And they didn't do it. So the next thing I did was to submit my report. If you remember, in 2010, I submitted a report on the Abuja runway contract, which Jonathan cancelled then. Because the facts were so germane, so right and so accurate that I even named all the culprits there as at that time. But the government was smart to quickly cancel it because the implications were high. But this time around, maybe out of arrogance.
Are you going to say that's smartness or that's complicity? That's not helping.
Whatever it is called, anyway. What happened is that I'm not discouraged. I continue to do my best as a procurement person and an anti-corruption promoter. Yeah. We'll continue to do that. And we have worked with a lot of anti-corruption agents, which we also think that they should also be supporting us. For example, we are in the ICPC NACC, National Anti-Corruption Coalition. We work with EFCC quite a lot, providing them information, do training for them, interfacing with them on series of issues. And even at a time when they need certain information, they also consult with civil society.
Have there been successes though? I mean, we have to be fair. Have there been successes? Have there been occasions when you worked with the EFCC and we actually got results? Hello? It's a terrible time to lose you there.
Under some kind of...
oh, yes. Did you get my question?
I get the question. What I'm saying is that they're also under some kind of influence of which the independence is not total. For example, ICPC could be investigating a case, ICPC or EFCC could be investigating a case. The next thing we hear is the file has been recalled by the Ministry of Justice. Why should that one happen in a nation that is trying to fight corruption and end the impunity of the past? So these are the issues. We are aware of what they're also facing. We are aware of the challenges to make their findings open or to prosecute offenders. So much as we know that they are doing very well, we also know that they are faced with a lot of challenges. ICPC,
when you say they are doing very well, can you point out one concrete case where with collaboration?
In the last 2 years,
yes,
ICPC has committed about 12 public officers that we know very well. It's on record. Only just to know, just to Google and you see a lot of them. The same thing with TFCC. Of course, they also have issues of funding, which at times also cripple the operations and all that. But so far, there's none of the cases that ICPC has brought to court that they have lost, that I have been following. Really? Yes, I've not seen any.
That's impressive.
Yes, there's no case that ICPC has taken to court since I've been following them as a member of the NACC that they have lost. Except
I think that's something I'm going to be commending Bolaji Owasonye, who of course is the Director General. He was with us in the civil society. And he's an academic, he's a professor of law. I met him last at the Nigerian Bar Association. He's a personal friend of mine. So I'm going to be commending him on that, that I had from. But having said that, we're still not satisfied. There is, of course, the fact that the ICPC takes a certain type of cases, the EFCC takes a certain type of more high-profile cases, and unfortunately, the EFCC for now is more associated with success with the lower kinds of crime convictions, the so-called Yahoo boys who are into electronic crimes and the open and shut cases. But in the high-profile governor's investigation, the rate of convictions there, understandably, is less.
Don't forget also that our criminal justice system, and the court is also to blame to some extent about their role in the justice application.
Yes.
The ICPC, and EFCC that you talk now, most of the time are frustrated during court proceedings. You remember a case of recent judgment in which a criminal that was convicted, quote and unquote, someone that EFCC took to court, and was hoping that this is an open and closed case. But the court set the accused free, and the EFCC had to appeal that case. And it was in the media, everybody has said, no, you have to appeal this case because we believe that judgment is not done rightly here. So the court is also a huge problem in Nigeria. Thank God I'm not the only one. This has been said over time, including Mr. President, when he came on, Mr. President Buhari.
Yes.
He said that our court is a big problem to democracy. It's a big problem to anti-corruption fight. It's a big problem to almost everything.
Interesting you mentioned the courts, because I'm also aware that the Ajaokuta Steel Mill has generated court cases in the local in the locality where it is based, with the Ebira Youth Congress complaining about a recent judgment given by a court which appears to come on the side of the Igala people. And the Ebira, I don't know if you are aware of this, that the Ebira youth are saying that it's a judicial abracadabra. That's what they call it. That by some judicial abracadabra, Ebira land is being robbed off at Ajaokuta. Tell us a bit about that.
The case itself has nothing to do with the steel industry. It's just about a territorial fight among tribes from the same state, which is something that can be handled. Of course, political.
There's been a judgment. It's no longer political. It's political as well as judicial. There's been a judgment.
Judiciary. Well, of course, there are judgments again, like I also told you, that are challenged in court, believing that the judiciary or the first court did not do justice to that such judgment, and it is glaring. Even you don't have to be a lawyer, even as a layman, for you to know some of these cases. And I think that is the case with the judgment that was passed on the case of Ajaokuta, Kotonkarife, Bia, and all that. But
tell us a bit about this. Basically, Ajaokuta now has been awarded to a different local government. Is that what's going on?
Well, it has not been awarded per se because it has been appealed.
Okay.
And yes, and once the appeal is on, what we need to do now is to follow the processes, which so far we've not had any objection from the so-called party that won the first case.
Yes.
So that is where we are.
Okay.
Of course, we need to follow deeply further to know.
And this is quite common. This is quite common in federations like Nigeria.
Yeah, like Nigeria.
There's a huge contest going on for land. I mean, a lot of us think that when we talk about territorial contests, that is always between countries. The territorial contest within a country is usually more fierce, leads to more deaths in terms of conflicts and murders and bloodshed than the territorial contest between countries. I happen to be a bit of an expert in, I would want to call myself an expert in territorial boundaries laws, particularly in Africa. Yeah, and I find it a very intriguing area, which is why I was quite impressed. Should I say impressed? I would say intrigued when the Ebira youth compared their situation, saying that there's a mad territorial ambition, and that the Igala people should remember that it's territorial ambition that killed Saddam Hussein by trying to annex Kuwait as part of the old Babylonian Empire.
You are really well informed. I didn't know you were following this. Even far more than me, that is even from the area.
But tell us, what's the local situation? What's going on locally in Kogi there? Do they really wish this industry to be back in full, service? I suppose they will be the immediate community that will benefit from this. Over 10,000 jobs, maybe even say up to a million jobs cumulatively if we look at the spillover.
Yeah, our research shows, and in consultation with the management, that at the start, Ajaokuta will need about 56,000 manpower.
56,000
for all it, just for the start. This does not include other services that may just not be directly with Ajaokuta. Maybe we're talking about taxi, housing, catering, foodstuffs, and on and on and on. But bringing the case back to your question, I can tell you categorically that every single Ibera man today, I cannot say that one of other tribes, but I can also conveniently say over 80% of maybe a Yoruba Kaba and the Gala believe so much in Ajaokuta's revival. But for any Ibera man today, is 100% praying for Ajaokuta's revival. Now, yes, going further, I say, and I think that has always been the case, that every patriotic Nigeria should also believe in the revival of Ajaokuta, because that is our cornerstone of industrialization. For anybody that understands and is patriotic.
What industries will benefit immediately from having local steel?
If you look at our airlines, they will benefit. The airline will benefit. The car manufacturing companies, airports, the local
boundaries,
the local industry, maybe the welders, I don't know, fabricators and all that. They will benefit. In fact, any machinery workshop will benefit from Ajaokuta.
Because things like bolts and nuts can now be made locally. I guess a huge chunk of
even in production. If you visit Ajaokuta, you see that there are still certain sections that are even in production.
Really?
Only that they are not in volumes as is meant to be. So, like we were talking about turnkey, bolts, nuts, rods for housing. In fact, building materials will naturally come out from there. And you know, mostly they are irons, rods, and anything that you need. Ajaokuta can effectively produce them for the whole Nigeria, for the whole country, at whatever number that we need them.
Which brings me to the other competition that Ajaokuta might have, but eventually it wouldn't be real. Because even as it is now, I understand, even in its dead form, even in its moribund form, Ajaokuta Steel Mill is still the 12th largest in the world.
Yes.
Imagine if it starts producing. Now it is still the 12th largest steel works in the world. It's a massive complex, massive complex. Hundreds of kilometers of road test network, underground cables, everything in technical readiness, apart from Nigerianness that has happened to it. We've covered a lot of that. How about the other competition for it, which is known as the Delta Steel Company? How are those ones faring?
Well, I can't say much about Delta, but what I can tell you about Delta Steel and other steel companies vis-a-vis Ajaokuta is that while most of those people are producing light steel, all other steel companies are producing light steel, which is called pellets or so. I'm not a technical person, like I said. The Ajaokuta is far beyond that. Ajaokuta produces everything steel, 100%, anything about steel worldwide, whether it is light, thick, pellets, and all that is needed for fabrication of airplane, fabrication of even ships, name them. They are all there. That is what Ajaokuta is meant for. And that is why I always maintain that for any country to be industrialized, the steel is number one. And Ajaokuta, like you rightly identified, is even the 12th largest for now in the whole world. And everybody has recognized that. And the implication is that when it comes alive, Nigeria will be reckoned with in the global world community.
Now, we do hope that that's going to happen at some point.
Amen. That's going to happen.
I mean, if you ask me, it should be a low-hanging fruit. It's just that Nigerianness is coming to it. So tell us a bit about where you are. Where is that in the Okene?
No. Okay, I'm going to just try to show you some scenes.
Okay, please do show us. Yeah.
I'm actually in what you call Transatlantic Center.
Okay.
Transatlantic Center is a research, recreation, and community development initiative, which I established some 5 years ago. Yes, it's sitting on a 2.5 hectare land.
Fantastic.
With an open space. Land
is something we don't have much of in the UK. You're not going to get 2.5 acres for nearly anything unless you are the local government.
I actually copied this idea from Malaysia some 10 years ago when I was there under the Commonwealth program. And I went around Pyramid Hotel and I saw what you can do with little money to bring about difference.
Yes.
I came back home and I began to plan it. That why can't we have something unique, a relaxation spot, educational spot where children can come and learn. We do a lot of research. For example, on the 28th of this month now.
Yes.
On Children's Day, we'll be doing a mentorship program here where about 50 children from across the whole 5 local government will converge here, and they will be trained, mentored on how to effectively move among the society and become leaders of tomorrow. So that is that about this center. Of course, there's quite a lot. We'll be celebrating the 5-year anniversary on January 1st, 2023. And as you can see now, we have workers that are currently doing that. They are trimming the grass.
Okay.
And now that we have children's amusement park.
Wow.
We have a swimming pool not yet constructed. The land is there.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a conference hall.
Fantastic.
We have the Heritage Center. And very interesting, we have the animal.
What's the Heritage Center? What happens in the Heritage Center?
Yeah, the Heritage Center is to accommodate some of our artifacts within Kogi State.
Yeah.
Of course, we plan to expand that with time. The issue is that we have a lot of cultural heritage that we have abandoned.
Yes.
Or people come asking questions that where do we find it? Or they only see them on social media and all that. We felt we should have a space where people can come and see them, like a museum, where they come and look at things, study things they see on the media. Let them come and have a physical view of what is happening. And so that's where
you seem to have been indicating that there's also a place like a zoo for animals.
Yes, I was just trying to show you. It's called Animal Colony.
Okay.
As you can see, maybe from afar now.
Yes.
That's the animal colony. It has a series of birds, foreign birds, geese.
It'll be interesting to see if we can see one or two.
Antelope. Well, this is a bee sunny. Now, usually the animals will go under the.
We go under, okay, animal colony. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've taken the time to pick the animals that will not like eat each other up.
They're not wild animals anyway. They're not wild animals.
Yeah, and they wouldn't eat each other up. They're not going to be lunch. They're not going to be lunch for you.
Some are caged, so I'm actually going there now. Let's see.
Yeah.
Some have been caged in such a way that they can't.
Yeah, they can't be.
They can't come up. Yes, they can't touch the other.
By others, okay.
Like now, you can see the geese now. Some of them coming out.
Yet. I haven't seen one yet, but I'll be so happy.
Okay. I'm coming close to it.
I can hear them. I think I can hear them. They're quacking or something. Yes, that's a geese. I've seen one. Wow.
You can see now.
Yes.
To walk up to their place. It's not attacking me now because they know me. But
okay.
If they have to, if a stranger comes, they chase the person away.
They are fierce. They are fierce.
These are foreign birds.
Okay.
These are foreign birds.
Foreign?
Yes.
From which country? What do you
mean? We have some of this hair also here.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of this on our campus here, running free.
Yeah. The kids just at the back there. Then we also have some other foreign birds that are also here. It's quite big, so you have to be walking from one edge to the other.
And all this is useful for teaching the youngsters who come in. They will probably be their first time to see some of these animals. So you are giving them a free biology section, zoology section.
And also to serve as a tourism for people. You can see these are doves.
Yes.
These are big doves that we also there. You can see some of them there.
Wow. Yeah.
Can you see them?
Yes, I can see them.
These are not common doves. They are foreign.
Okay.
They are quite big and they don't even fly out. Even if you open the door, they remain indoor.
They're quite domesticated. Yeah. These are the ones that they let loose at ceremonies, military ceremonies. Yes. Well, the white ones. So. Yeah. That's fantastic. That's a huge project you have in your hand there. It will swallow a lot of time.
Thank you very much.
And when I do come to Nigeria, visit Kogi State, I would really love to be there.
Please.
And who knows? We could always bring some books for you if you have a library.
Oh yes. Of course, that's one of the gazebo that we built here. One of the plans is also to create a section for library. This is the gazebo, as you can see.
Yes.
Have you seen the gazebo?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
I have to come up again now. The gazebo is quite large. You can take a 100% capacity, the hall. So there are spaces at the back, offices and all that, where we plan to set up the library. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have my own personal charity called Books for Africa. So,
beautiful.
if I mean, we can talk about this and see if I can bring in some books for you in various areas, zoology, biology, things that children might also want to read. Those are the kind of things
very much. Thank you very much.
We'll talk about that.
My battery is dying.
Okay. Yes, it's been a wonderful time. I mean, we've talked about everything from corruption in Nigeria to developmental challenges, the notorious families that have robbed us of the importance of a key national infrastructure, and of course our hopes for the future for Nigeria. I do hope that where this government has stopped, the next government will pick up. The Ajaokuta steel industry, despite my all I've said so far, is a key instrument of national development.
Very well.
It is a low-hanging fruit. All it is waiting for is a government that puts money where its mouth is and hopefully keeps the kleptocrats out of the way and out of reach of the monies that will be used to revitalize the place. Thank you so much, Mohammed Attah. We are very pleased to have you here, and I'm sure we will be having you again as time goes on.
Very well. I'm glad to be.
Have a beautiful morning. It's sunny over there. It's not so bad here. This is England. So I think what we have here is what I will settle for this. It could be worse. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.